Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, today we are continuing with our precious series. If you have not viewed the previous video, you have to view them first because the more we move on, the more there is a large gap of knowledge that we are building upon it we've covered in the previous video. And if you are serious about cybersecurity, there is no way you are not subscribing to this channel. Please subscribe, and whenever you have a query, we have a special WhatsApp number at the bottom right of this screen. You can query us and we are going to respond to you. So today we are going to see the live implementation of secure configuration that we have just covered in our previous video. And we said that we are going to use the CIS benchmark. So how are we going to access these benchmarks? You just go to Google and you write CIS benchmarks. Then you are focusing on the benchmark link that is from their own website, which is cissecurity.org. Like for this one, it's also a benchmark, but it's from Tenable. So we are focused on this, which is from their own website, cissecurity.org. So you click it here, then you go to the download benchmarks button, and here you are supposed to fill your information like your first name, your last name, the organization that you are forming, the industry that you are in, because all this they helps you to, this information that you fill for them to know what you are you going to use it for, but so that they can send you the link for you to download the given information. So you put your email, and because I've already done this, of course, using my other email, so I'm not going to repeat all this process, of course, for the purpose of saving the time. And of course, you have to check that you have agreed to their terms of use, and also you have to check that you are not a robot. Then you click get free benchmarks now. Then it will take you to the page that tells you that your benchmarks are going to be sent or have been sent to your email. And after some few seconds or some few minutes, you are going to see the link in your given email. So for my case, I've already done that. And of course, you are going to receive the email similar to this one from CIS. It tells you that your CIS benchmarks are ready for download. So you click it, then you go to access PDF. There is where you are going to see all the benchmarks prepared by this organization, which in a reality is for all devices and for all common application operating system and whatever that you can imagine of. So you can traverse here and see what secure configuration that you need, be it for IBM, for Linux, for cloud server, for cloud service, for VMware, whatever it is. For most use cases, these guys have already established this baseline, like for Apache Tomcat, MySQL Server. So I'm not going to mention them all, but actually, they are for almost all common use cases, for Oracle database, for Kubernetes, for MySQL, even for network devices down here, as you are going to see them, mobile devices, for iOS devices. There are the configuration for Google, Android, the same upright. For network devices, for Cisco, Parato, Juniper, so forth, Fortinet. So as I said, there are secure configuration based on for almost any device or any software that is universal. You can have the configuration that you don't need to establish them from scratch, as we have seen in our previous presentation. But for the demonstration of this series, we are going to use the one for Windows Server. And as I've been saying in this series that I'm using Windows, as many people are common to Windows, they have been exposed to Windows in one time or another. Because myself, I'm using Ubuntu. So if we demonstrate them on Ubuntu, many people may be left behind. But for Windows, most of us, we have used Windows in one time or another. So that's why it's easier for most of us to understand. But remember that this configuration, they can be used to any devices, to any operating system. You just need to know how to apply them in a particular operating system. As we're going to see in Windows, we are going to use group policy. But the same that if you want to apply them in Ubuntu or in whatever Linux distribution, you are just going to copy command and paste them in the shell, which is even more easier. If you are going to use the same like for pfSense or for Sophos firewall, you just need to copy the respective commands and pasting them. But a rule of thumb, you have to understand what you are doing before you are doing it, because these configurations are sometimes very sensitive and they can produce unexpected results if you are not knowing what you are doing before you are doing. So you have to read them first and thoroughly understanding them. So I've already downloaded them for Windows Server. So you can download it for your given platform. For instance, if you don't have Windows Server, but you have Windows desktop, so you can download like this one, CIS Microsoft Windows 10 controls. You can download this and try to experiment or follows me by using these particular benchmarks because the format is almost the same. Just to understand the format of the document and how are you going to implement them. So for those who are using like Debian, they can download for Debian. For those who are using Ubuntu, but of course, the one for Windows and for Ubuntu, they are different. You cannot follow this series by using Ubuntu or Debian. So you have to understand them first by using a Windows version, be it a Windows desktop or Windows Server, they are similar. So if you have understand the process, the concept, the format, then you can replicate it by your given operating system or devices. So let us go straight to the business. I've already downloaded one for Microsoft Windows Server 2016. You can just search it among the rest and you're going to find it. Like for Windows Server, it's somewhere down here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, somewhere down here. No need to waste time. Yeah, Microsoft Windows Server. Here they are, the baseline for the Windows Server. And for the one that I've just downloaded it for this 2016 benchmarks. And of course, they have version for version 2, version 1. So the case that I've just downloaded here is version 2. So you are going to open the document and you're going to see that it is. Then you're going to see the table of content. So as I said, please read throughout this page so that you can this document so that you can understand, especially this preliminary information and their profile to know what they mean. But for the case of this demonstration, I just want to choose the control that is easier for you to understand it first, because as I said, you need to understand what is it going to affect before just implementing it, because there are instructions there, because this is security, but at the same time, there are issues of performance, reliability, and other things. So if you don't know what it means you may have an expected result. But these controls are secured and are reliable. But applying them blindly is something that I'm not advising it. You need to understand what they mean first. So for our case, we are going to use this control, which is all about account lockout threshold. So, of course, before telling you what it means, there are these profile. These profiles are just categorical grouping of controls. Most of the time, you're going to see level 1 and level 2. Level 1 are for those control which present like necessary security. And of course, implementing them, they are not going to affect the performance of your asset to that extent. But if you see level two is for those scenarios that you need even more security, because level 1 is more of a basic or necessary security. But level 2 is for advanced or for those enterprise or for those situations that you need to take security in a more serious manner, is where you're going to see the level 2. So it means for the level 2 also you have to even to be more careful, because what you are going to apply is something that is very sensitive. So this is what all these levels are all about. But of course, this definition are in the preliminary page. There is some section about profile description. You are going to see whatever the profile that you are going to see, what it means there. So that's it. So for the description of this control, as you see, account local threshold is all about controlling when account should be lockout when there is consecutive numbers of failed login attempts. And this is for protecting your asset against brute force attacking. For instance, this is my server. And by default, this lockout threshold is set to 0, which means it is disabled. That if someone is trying to brute forcing my server, the person can try as many login attempts, even if they are failed, and nothing is going to happen. Now, that is not safe. The proper way is if there are some 3 or 5 or certain number of consecutive login attempts, you should block that account, because that is a sign that someone is trying to brute forcing you. So that's why we have said that secure configuration are there to improve the security posture of your asset, because by default, if you have taken them from wherever you have bought them, be it a software or hardware, they have been configured for ease of use, which most of the time compromise the security. So when we are applying this secure configuration, we are making sure that we are not using default configuration like this one by default is disabled. So we are not going to use it as it is. We are improving the security posture of our asset. But something to take here as a take home, also this kind of control has to be used sensitively, as I'm going to tell you more when we are going to demonstrating it. So in audit section is trying to explain to you how are you going to know whether this control is enabled or disabled. But for this case, they are just trying to tell you auditing and remediation is the same. So just going to remediation section, in the same section you can know, you can determine to see if this control is enabled or disabled. But in the same section also, you are going to set it in your own preference. And of course, for Windows, for all this secure configuration baseline in Windows, we are going to use the so-called blue porous object. And actually, this is a kind of setup mechanism that allows you to set a number of policies and grouping them together, then assign those policies which are grouped. That's why we call them group policies to a given asset. Then all assets who will be assigned those given group policies, they are going to have those policies immediate applied to them. So it sophisticates the management of your Windows asset, be it Windows Server, Windows desktop, laptop, or whatever. You can just set a group policy, and then you're going to push it to all assets that you want those policies to be affected upon them. So how are we going to change or to manage these group policies in Windows? You just go to search here, you click LAN to open this LAN tool. Then you are going to write this gp edit.msc, which means you are going to open Gluporis Edit tool from Microsoft. And after clicking it, you are going to see this window which has all the group policies. And actual group policies are arranged in a hierarch manner. So you need to know how to traverse to reach your given control or your given parameter. And to traverse to a particular path is shown by this given control. And this is the path that you should follow for you to affect this control of account lockout threshold. So I'm going to start here from computer configuration. So computer configuration is here, and of course there is the part here about policies, but this one is only for CIS structuring, and you are not going to see it, especially when you are setting the local computer policy, because there are so many things to talk about this policy. But here I'm just trying to demonstrate to you how are you going to use it, how are you going to implement it, and the structure of the document is the same, but the command, the mechanism differs depending on the platform and devices. And all those differences also are going to be explained in the given document. So for Windows, this is it. So for policies, you are not going to see any hierarchy of policies here, because here we are demonstrating on local computer policies. So you're going straight to Windows, the next part, which is Windows settings. So I'm going to Windows settings, then to security settings, and then I'm going to security settings, then account policies. Here it is, account policies, then account lockout policies, which is here, account lockout policy. Then if there is nothing, I'm just clicking it here. It shows me the controls or the variable that are there. And for my case, I'm concerned with account lockout threshold. So I'm going to double click this account lockout threshold. And as you can see, of course, I've reset it on preparing this demonstration. But by default, this is what we are going to see, that you will have 0, which means account will not lock out. So this is not secure. You have to change it to your threshold number, which what it says now, if you change it to any number greater than 0, it reads like account will lock out after 3 invalid login attempts. But if you leave it for 0, it reads like account will not lock out. So you get it, the picture of what it means. So for instance, for my case, I set it like 3, which means if there are 3 failed login attempts, I have to log out this account. Now, of course, there are other controls now on how are you going to unlock if the account is locked. There are other controls that you specify. Maybe if the account is locked, only the administrator can lock it out, can unlock it. Or maybe if the account is locked, it should wait like for a certain number of minutes, then the computer should unlock itself automatically after that certain number of minutes. Though all those controls are there, but for this case, I'm just trying to demonstrate one. And if you have understood this one, you can follow the same procedure for all other controls in Windows. And if you have understood them in Windows, then you can read the document in Linux or another platform, and you can follow the same structure, but following the specific instruction for your given platform. So I can just say it is okay. Then automatically, I have already set that particular control. So in a nutshell, this is how we are using CIS baselines or benchmarks to improve our security postures or to do secure configuration of whatever asset that we may have. So this is the manual way, and as you can see that there are numbers of pages. For instance, this one for Windows Server 2016, there are like 1,000 pages, and all these pages have hundreds of control. So to do this manual is kind of tiresome. So there is a way of automating it, but remember, automating it, you have to understand it first. That's why you need to understand how are you going to do it manually. But in our future video, in our following videos, we are going to show you how are you going to automate, so that when you have automated for Windows Server 2016 benchmarks, wherever you have a Windows Server 2016 OS, you are just going to press a button, then that given automated platform is going to push all these controls to a given window server, so and so.